excited to have you guys on Club Wealth TV today. We are live on Google Hangouts, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live. So super glad to have everybody on today. We've got an amazing guest in Amanda Howard today. I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. Super excited to hear what she has to share with us. Of course, my co-host, Brian Curtis of Curtis Realty Group in Bentonville, Arkansas. Brian is a freaking rock star. He's a Keller Williams agent that he's doing over 30 transactions a month with his team there in Bentonville, which is awesome. He's just killing it. He's also running expansion teams all over the country for not only for Club Wealth, but for other agents as well that we partner with. And so Brian is absolutely rock star. It's always great to have you on the call, Brian. Mike Bjorkman is on the call with us. Mike Bjorkman is a real estate agent with HomeSmart in Santa Clarita, California. Mike is doing about 150 transactions a year on his Santa Clarita team. That is actually being run by Tammy Edwards. So Mike is completely out of production on his team, which means he doesn't have to go on appointments anymore. He's got somebody else doing all that. Somebody else runs his whole team for him. Why? Because Mike's out running other businesses. Mike's out running his property management company where he manages 750 doors. He's running his real estate brokerage where he's got several hundred agents. He's running his escrow company that's doing tons of transactions every month. So he's got somebody else running that real estate team for him. That's the kind of business that you guys all want to get to at some point in time. So he's a great guy to have on the call as well. For those of you that don't know me already, as an agent, I consistently listed and sold just over 100 homes per month, working about 12 days a month. It was a pretty good life. I was making about $450,000 in gross commission income each month, with a net income of about $125,000 in GCI, or excuse me, $125,000 in net income. I share this with you not to brag. I share it for one, to add credibility to the message, and two, because I want you to know that if I can do it, you can do it. If Mike can do it, you can do it. And certainly if Brian can do it, you can do it. So you guys, I want you to listen to what we have to share today. And most importantly, I want you to listen to our special guest, Amanda Thomason. Todd. So let's talk about who is Amanda? What the heck? She is the $1 million mom. So Amanda is one of our coaching clients. She's a very dear friend and coaching client of mine. I actually get the honor to coach her personally. And she is in Sacramento, California. And more specifically, Roseville, right? I mean, are we technically Roseville? Or are we so? Technically Roseville. Amanda's current claim to fame is that she is, and I don't know, is it closed yet? She's got the highest price list ever in the area at $8 million. It's not quite closed yet, but here's what I can tell you about Amanda. Amanda is a single mother, and Amanda has managed to go from being a single mom, coming out of an abusive relationship, to go out on her own and build an incredibly successful team from day one. In the first 90 days, she closed, I think it was their first 3 transactions in 90 days. Is that right?
I closed my first 2 deals on the same day, and then the next one was like a week later, and it wasn't 90 days. It was 5 weeks. Bam!
I love it. So, and here's the message there. The message is, look, not only is she a single mom doing all this stuff, coming out of that relationship and managing to start a career, go out and close 3 transactions right away so she could support her kiddos. But guess what? In her spare time, she runs marathons and triathlons. Why? Because, well, why not?
Why not?
Amanda, welcome to Club Wealth TV. We're so glad to have you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I am a single mom. And in fact, I was just telling before we got started on this, I'm truly the epitome of a single mom. I was pulling out of my garage this morning and my kid's dad texted me and said, hey, Alyssa's got a headache. She's not going to school. You need to come pick her up. My day truly is scheduled down to the minute today. And so I said, okay, and improvised and spent an extra 20 minutes driving to pick her up and then get to my first appointment that I had before this morning. And she's so adorable. She said, Mom, thanks for doing that. And I said, I would do anything for you. I would do anything for my kids. And that's why I chose real estate. I chose real estate because I didn't want to have to put my kids in daycare. I chose real estate because I wanted to have a flexible schedule. I wanted to be able to support my family well. And I wanted to be able to, reschedule if I needed to. If I had a normal 8 to 5 job, I would have either had to call in sick because daycares, to my knowledge, don't take kids that are sick. She's not sick. She has a headache. But still, it would have been a scramble. And instead, it was a scramble, but it wasn't as much as it would have been if I was in another career. And so I have an amazing team. I have 10 agents that work with me that are my business partners, and they're incredible. I have an administrative staff of 3 that are literally my right hand. I couldn't do it without them. And 3 amazing kiddos. And yes, I do Ironman triathlons.
Yeah, and you do. Let me tell you, that's awesome.
I was swimming at the gym till 11 o'clock last night.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
awesome. Well, so here's what I want to know. So we're going to start off, and today, normally, we've done some stuff with you in the past, Amanda, and we've talked more about, how your day looks and your perfect schedule and all that kind of stuff. Today, we want to get into the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of how are you running such a massive team, and what is it that's, what are your lead sources, and how are those different today than they were a year ago, and why, and what's changed, and all that good stuff. So let's just start off. Let me throw this out there. Tell me about, because I know this is something that a lot of people want to know, what are the lead sources you're using today that are working really well for you?
So we do a lot with realtor.com, but we just slashed that. Zillow, Facebook, and then our sphere of influence.
So realtor.com, Zillow, Facebook, hold on, RDC, Zillow, Facebook, and what else?
Our sphere of influence.
Your sphere of influence. Okay, and what about, now you just got started with Wailopo, is that right?
Oh yes, cannot forget Wailopo.
Howard would kill us both if we forgot to mention it.
I am in love platonically with G and Howard.
Those guys run a great business.
Text and chat a lot.
That's awesome.
They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And I mean, for them, and I'm not getting paid by Wailopo, but their customer service between Wailopo and Call Action with Jesse and Bodwin, those two companies offer the best customer service. And I don't want to say I'm high maintenance, but I'm a high D. So when I ask a question, I want a response right away, and not like, where are you? But I just don't have time. And it's also kind of out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't get my response right away, then I'm going to be moved on to something else. And both of those companies, when I have a question, when I need something tweaked or changed, they are on it immediately. And so I love Wailopo and Call Action. They're amazing. So
that's awesome. And by the way, would you
into Jesse?
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. Tara, would you do me a favor? I'm asking my team now, Tara and Natasha, if you guys could do me a favor, could you put our affiliate link for Wailopo into the screen here for those people that want to connect with Howard over there at Wailopo and get, I can't remember what he does. He gives them some extra marketing or something. I'm not exactly sure what he gives them, but he gives them some extra stuff when they sign up through our link. But check him out. Wailopo is a great lead source. So Brian and Mike, Todd, let's drill down on this. I want you guys to grill Amanda here on all the details of her business. What do you got?
Right. Well, I think what we need to do is start off with those two companies you just talked about. What are they doing for your business? How long have you used them? Because that was 5 minutes. Everybody's like, what is that?
Yeah, definitely. So Wailopo is a lead source. They get leads from Google pay-per-click ads and Facebook. And what they do is they scrub down the leads. So a lot of people complain that when they do landing pages that, the leads are not great quality. So what Wailopo does for you is they take the leads, they bring the leads in, they scrub them down, and then they give them to you. And then what we do with Call Action, there's a few different things that we do with Call Action. And I actually got this idea from Brian, so thank you, Brian, was we publish a blog post and boost it to Facebook every weekend of lists of open houses. So text, such and such number, text list, and you'll get a list of all the open houses in the area this weekend. And then what Call Action service is they provide that text number. And then when somebody texts that number, the amount of information that Call Action provides you about that person is astonishing. I mean, it has demographic information, from education, income, if they're a homeowner. I mean, there's so many different things that it captures just from their phone number, just from them texting you. And they are opting in because they're texting you. And so then you can turn around and contact them. Another thing that Call Action does is if somebody calls me, it'll basically send it to my voicemail. I think I don't even know exactly how it works, but then Call Action will text them and say, sorry, I'm on a phone call right now, but how can I help you? And so then they'll start interacting through text, and you can text with them back and forth through Call Action. And you're not even necessarily on a phone call, but it's just a great way to engage with them. And then run with it from there.
So if I get this straight, you're running the Curator blog post, boosting that on Facebook in conjunction with call action.
Yes, with a call action number on it.
And then when you get the leads from Wailopo, I can't say it. I try. Then those leads is that a separate CRM, or are they actually going into your follow-up boss?
So they're going into follow-up boss, and it's really nice that they already integrate with the system that we use. There are external links that it takes you to because we have a Wailopo website that has its own IDX feed and search engine in it. So then that's the super cool thing. So one of the things that we had G set up for us with Wailopo is that any lead that comes in, whether it's a portal lead like Zillow, Realtor.com, whether it's a call action lead, anything that comes into our follow-up boss, Wailopo is attached to our follow-up boss. And so then they create a search link for every lead. And then when the lead actually views those properties that Wailopo has created the search, they create the criteria around the property that was initially requested information. But then we can go back through in follow-up boss and see how many properties they've looked at, how many times they've looked at it. So even some of the older leads that we're regenerating, kind of reinvigorating here with this Wailopo Stars link, we can go back and see when they're active again. And it's a great way for the agents to re-engage with them because we know that, they're warming up again.
Wow. So I'm sure a couple people on this call are probably, and I'm sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to walk all over you on this.
No, you're good.
I'm fascinated though. I mean, Amanda, you have all your buddies around you that are using Commissions Inc. What happened with Commissions Inc. and your choice for Wailopo?
From what I've been told, and I haven't done Commissions Inc., that the leads are higher quality with Wailopo than they are with Commissions Inc. With Commissions Inc., they're not exclusive to you. With Wailopo, they are. And one of the cool things, and I don't understand exactly how it works, but Howard was trying to explain it to me, that when a lead comes into my site, if they are wandering around to somebody else, they redirect them back to my site.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And so it's the difference of quality versus quantity. You might have a higher quantity on Sync, but with Wailopo, your leads are exclusively yours.
All right, awesome. So I guess last question before I let Brian take over is, how big is your geographical area with these 10 agents? How far out from your main house or office do you spread out? Is it 10 miles, 20 miles?
Oh gosh, we are super far. So I list all over the state of California, but we go into the Bay Area. And so there's a lot between Sacramento and the Bay Area. There's cities called Vacaville and Fairfield. And like I just closed a deal in the Bay Area, a listing in the Bay Area, and then I have 2 more listings coming up in the Bay Area. And then I have 2 agents that have MLS access in the Bay Area as well. And so then we cover everything between here and the Bay Area. And then I have another agent who works in Tahoe. And then I have 2 other agents and myself. We're all getting licensed in Nevada. We're getting ready to expand to Reno and Incline, which is the Vegas side of Tahoe. So my agent that already works in Tahoe wants to do both the California and Nevada side. I say the Vegas side. It's the Nevada side of Tahoe. And then we're expanding to Las Vegas too.
So in other words, you're just bored out of your mind.
And I sit around with my feet up all day long, every day. Last week when I had to sit and do nothing, it was like the most painful thing in the world for this 99D personality. I'm like, I gotta do something. This is killing me. I'm like, give me my laptop. I'm gonna start going through follow-up boss. I think my agent was probably annoyed that I wasn't.
Okay, so I gotta jump on that, Amanda. So I want you to share with everybody. So is it true that there is a time in our life where God says it's time to put the brakes on?
Apparently so. Yeah, I was having some issues with my heart last week where my heart rate was well over 200. And my mom is a doctor and my doctor were like, do not move. I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you that I was doing hill repeats on my bike this morning. And that's when my heart rate was at like 225. There was one point I didn't have my GPS watch on and I was running really hard. And I had to stop because my chest was hurting so bad. My mom was like, yeah, you were probably giving yourself a heart attack. Like literally, she said, had you not been so fit, she said anyone else would have died from that. Like, died.
All right, well, let's slow down. We appreciate the hustle, but we love you and want you around.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all doing it now.
Well, what's the lesson learned out of that? That's what I want to know. What's the lesson we're taking from that?
I'm pretty in tune with my body too. That's finally when I was like, something's wrong. So I put my Garmin watch on. So then I'm wearing around this big, ugly, massive Garmin watch that has my heart rate on it.
Jeez.
For like 3 days in a row. It didn't match.
Okay, so note to self and note to everybody else watching this. There is a time in all of our lives where we need to put the brakes on for a moment and sharpen the saw and just and relax. So please, you guys, make sure you're pacing yourselves at some level. All right. That being said, Brian, talk to us more about why Lopo and about that. You had a question for Amanda.
Sure, absolutely. So why Lopo, as Amanda knows, I would think I was influential in talking her to get into it. So I'll take a
Well,
little
what was funny is poor Howard was like, okay, I've had like 3 people tell me that I need to talk to you. He's like, apparently we need to have a conversation.
So I was glad that you got into that. So I'm gonna take a quick tact here because you've obviously changed the way you're doing things, and this is a question that, by the way, Amanda has no idea I'm going to ask her this. So sorry if you don't like it. So. Because I've built teams, Mike's built teams, Michael's built teams, we've all done this. Biggest mistake. So if you could go back to 3 years ago, 4 years ago when you started doing this, if you could say, oh my gosh, if I could talk to that person and say, don't do this, what would it be?
Well, the funny thing is I'm not even 3 years in yet. I will be 3 years in May. But the biggest thing that I would say is figure out, and I feel like the word culture has become really cliche and is overused, but figure out the type of people that you want to surround yourself with and make sure that you are very, very selective about who you surround yourself with. So make sure that they are people who have common goals in mind, common work ethic to yours, that they understand your vision and where you want to go. And the biggest part is that they have zero ego, because it's not about me. It's not about them. It's about us as a group. And so that's what I would say would be the biggest piece of advice, is that if you ever have a feeling that you are reaching to try to get someone on your team, like you're having to make compromises to get someone on a team, like you're having to make them happy all the time. And don't get me wrong, taking care of my team is my favorite thing in the world. But there's a difference between the upside down pyramid approach, which I believe in running my team, is that I am there to support them and help them. And so, I feel like it's my responsibility to do everything I can to help them build their businesses. And that's not meaning holding their hand. That's meaning providing the moral support and even the physical support. I mean, there's times that I've run out and shown properties for Heather or for other agents of mine, because again, I want to facilitate them to having the best business that they can. But when you have a very specific vision on what you want your team to look like, and you feel like you are having to compromise that and change that around because there's this one person that you really want on your team for whatever reason, but maybe they have an ego and they don't want to, I don't like the word conform, but they don't want to follow along the same lines that you're following on, don't do it. It's going to cause nothing but problems. It's not worth it.
Awesome. So one of the things that I heard there, Amanda, and I love this because I believe that a lot of people are out starting teams today. They're out starting teams and going, well, I'm just going to give them leads and then I'm going to collect checks. And I believe that's probably the biggest misconception that happens in real estate in 2017. I'm going to start a team. I'm going to give these people 25 leads a month. And then I am just going to sit back. And like you said, I'm just going to be doing nothing all day long. So I love that you have leadership. I don't ever want to show a house again, but the reality is, if nobody else on my team could show a house, guess what? Just like you, it's Sunday, it's 2:00. I'm running out to show that house because ultimately we've promised our clients that. And I promised the agents on my team that I am not going to just be a leader who talks about it, but I'm going to be a leader who does it. And I love that. Yeah. So I want to say 1.5 years ago, you and I talked in Orlando, and I think this is a great thing that maybe you can talk about as well, if you don't mind for a second. But we talked about how you look at people and how you reward them and how you figure out I think we use the love language thing. So I think that's something that would be really good for you to talk about, because again, that's, to me, it's about leadership. It's not about what I want to give people, but it's what the people want, and therefore I can figure out how to give it to them. So go ahead with that.
Yes, well, you just reminded me I need to get some updated ones for my team. But what I did is I created a form that I had every single one of my team members fill out. Every single one, agents, admin staff, everything. And I titled it, Help Me Love You. What's your favorite Starbucks drink? What's your favorite restaurant? What are your kids' names and birthdays? What's your spouse, if applicable, what's their name and birthday? What's your love language? And if they don't know what their love language is, I give them a link. It's a 20 question free test. You can figure out what your primary and secondary love language is. What's something you would never buy for yourself? What is a place that you've always wanted to go? I'm trying to remember what else is on the form, but I have each of my team members fill that out, because everyone needs to be loved differently. So I'll dive into it. If people have never heard of love languages, there's 5 love languages. It's acts of service, gifts, quality time, physical touch, and words of affirmation. And so I'll go into examples. So I've got one team member that words of affirmation is her love language. And so I make it an extra point to often be telling her, you're doing a great job. I'm really impressed with how you did this. Look at how, just being very verbally affirming to her. There's other people that quality time is their love language. So I'll say, hey, let's go to lunch today. I haven't spent any time with you in a while. How are you doing? What can I do to help you? Gifts. If gifts is somebody's thing, then I'll make sure, here's a gift card for a pedicure. Here's this, and again, I don't want to say it's recognition based or award driven. I just want to be that person that builds people up. If somebody's love language is acts of service, I'll say, hey, can I run to Starbucks for you? Or hey, I made this for you, or something like that. And what's the last one? Quality touch. Well, that one you just have to be careful.
That's another webinar. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a whole different webinar, and we're not going to go there. So, hey, now that being said, Amanda, I have a question for you. So would you do me a favor? Would you be willing to send me a copy of that I could share with everybody? So absolutely. If you'll do that, what I'll do is we'll put up a post on our clubwealth.com website, and then we'll link back to it right here in the conversation. And by the way, this is a good point in time to remind you guys, for those of you that are watching, you can ask your questions of Amanda live right now on the Facebook conversation that we're having. So type your questions in, and whoever gives us the best question of the day for Amanda, we're going to give you an entry into the Club Wealth Hawaiian Vacation giveaway drawing, which Elgin Walker and Pilar Scott Walker won last year. So they're heading to Maui here in actually a couple weeks, I think. So anyway, definitely get your questions in there. And I do have a question that was sent to me in a different way, Amanda, and I want to hear this one. We're going to keep the source confidential, just not so we don't rat this person out. Okay. But they would like to know, how do you deal with it when your team is screwing up a lot? They're making a lot of mistakes. It's not going well. They're having challenges. How do you resolve those challenges in your team?
Well, this is what I would say, because I've been across the board. I haven't even had my team for quite a year yet. But when times were low, I stepped back and looked at what could I do better as a leader? What could I train them better on? And meeting one-on-one with the agents. And we have to be very careful, and this is one of my pet peeves of team leaders, is you have to be extremely careful what you expect of your team as 1099 employees. And so I guess this is because I dated a human resource attorney who pounded it into my head. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Forever thankful that he did. But So I just make it a point. And again, like I've never had kickback on it because I'm not requiring it, but I say, hey, let's get together. Let's talk through what your goals are. Let's see, and just really go back to, and I look at their follow-up boss. And so that is a requirement. And he says it's iffy on 1099 versus W-2, but I do ask all of my agents to make all of their follow-up through Follow-Up Boss. That's our CRM. So there's an app and there's a desktop version. And so then I can go back through and say, oh my gosh, look, you've got 50 leads sitting in here, and you can filter, and I can say, they haven't been contacted by you in 2 or 3 weeks. So why don't you go back, filter the people that haven't had any interaction other than maybe the drip email campaigns, but we all know that people are not stellar at opening their email anymore. So say, why don't you go back, call through, text through those, and give them some ideas of like, here's a great thing you can text them. Michael gave me the idea. Did I drop the ball on something? Or text them, hey, I have a couple openings in my schedule this weekend. I've got Saturday at 2 and Sunday at 1. Were there any properties that you wanted to see? Or, there's several different ways that you can warm those leads back up. And so that's what I tell them, look, I want to see, and I have written out, and I was given it by somebody else, and I've tweaked it around a little bit, but I have an actual follow-up schedule that I would like my agents to follow with each of the leads. And so if I go back into their follow-up boss and I don't see the leads that are on that follow-up schedule, I say, hey, let's dive back into these old leads. Or if I see somebody who really is following up well, I've got I can't remember. I think we have 11,000 people in our database. And sorry, just a second. I've got one of my agents is helping me right now. It takes a village to raise a child. I just asked one of my agents who lives around the corner from me to grab some stuff from my house for me.
So again, the life of a single mom.
Here.
There's the life of a single mom. That's awesome. So, okay, so let me jump in real quick here. First of all, so you tell us about your exact follow-up schedule, because you're talking about you have a schedule you'd like them to follow. What is that schedule?
So it's calling 3 times on the first day. And again, keep in mind, this is only if they don't answer. Right. Call 3 times the first day. Don't leave a message. One of my agents said she actually is having better response if she leaves a message. And I tell my agents, make it your own. As long as you're doing something, I'm cool with that. If you found a follow-up schedule that works better for you personally, and I think that's the big thing. I'm not into scripts. I'm not into this robot type thing. I say, here's the script. Now make it your own. Find the talking points you need to hit. Make it your own. And so when she came to me and said, I'm having better luck of people returning my calls if I leave a voicemail. I said, leave a voicemail then. You have a great, super friendly voice. People must be excited to talk to you. Leave a voicemail then if it's working for you. So 3 calls a day with no voicemail, 2 calls the second day, 1 the third day. And not leaving a message. Let's see, sorry. And one of my agents texted me a question too. So, and then we have email campaigns that go out. We have auto texts that go out. And so then it's, again, reaching out to them by text. Every time you call, also reach out by text. And so you're following the same schedule with the calls and the texts. And then we have the email campaigns, but I like them to intersperse in their own personal emails as well. I mean, they're personalized coming from Follow-Up Boss for the agents. But I tell them, throw something in that, that's just your own type thing. So that's our follow-up schedule, and it's 15 days long. So anyway, so back to it. So it's 3, 2, 1. So 3 times the first day, 2 times the second day, 1 time the third day, and then it's calling and texting them every other day until you get a response from them. And there's something that I share with my team constantly, and they probably get tired of it, but it's a good reminder for them. It's called Sales Statistics, and I don't really know the source, but it seems like it makes sense to me. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and stop. 12% of salespeople only make 3 contacts and stop. And only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Now listen to this statistic. 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 3% on the second, 5% on the third, 10% on the 4th, and 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And so I tell that to my agents all the time because they're like, well, we don't want to be stalking them. We don't want to be bugging them. And I say, you know what? You're not. We all get busy and then life happens. And so this is just keeping up with them and saying, you know, hey, I'm here if you need me. Hey, I'm here if you need me. And it's worked out really well.
So, you know, a couple of things on that. Let me jump in, and then Brian, I'll give you next. A couple of things. First of all, we always on the follow-up schedule. I love your follow-up schedule, and that's more than 99% of the real estate agents out there are doing. You know, we always talk about in terms of for ease of remembrance, we tell people make sure you're making 3 calls a day for the first 3 days, 3 calls a week for the next 3 weeks, 3 calls a month for the next 3 months. That's 27 calls. That's a lot of contacts. But the reality is, if you don't have, you know, a bazillion leads, and I know for your team, Amanda, right now, you have more leads than buyer's agents right now. So you're going to do a little bit lighter follow-up schedule, but you're still being very tenacious, particularly in those first 3 days. It's very important. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was, I'm not sure if you're using this or not, but I'm hoping that you are. And if you're not, I'll give you a quick suggestion. Shout out to Tristan Ahumada for his awesome text message that Tristan, for those of you that don't know him, he runs a group called Lab Coat Agents. He's also one of our coaching clients. Love Tristan. He's a super great guy. And what Tristan does is after 45 minutes, so he'll call an online lead. And if they don't get a response, you know, if they don't get him on the phone, then he'll also send him a text message. And then 45 minutes later, what he will do is he will send another text message that says simply, let me know, ... That's it. That's all he sends. And let me tell you, boom, he gets tons of response from it.
That's great. Yeah, I'll tell my team that. One of the things that we were just talking about too in our team meeting on Monday is we literally will come about it in a totally different way. We'll send a text and say, is this John? And he'll text back, yeah. Sweet, John, I am Amanda with Keller Williams. You inquired about this property. When would you like to see it?
Love it. That's great. Love it a lot. Brian, you had a question. Go ahead.
I do. So here's a question for you. And if anyone on my team is watching today, there'll be a preview of our team meeting. So I know that you told me I heard 11,000. So 11,000 people in your CRM. And I call the CRM, if it's not correctly handled, it's kind of the abyss. Leads go in there, and if we don't put follow-ups in there, how could you possibly ever talk about a needle in a haystack? So my question for you is, I know you've got drips that go out. We use a similar program. We may actually use the same exact program. But what happens after most of my drips are set at 6 months? Do you data mine, if you will? Do you treasure hunt? We're looking for good positive terms. Let's say a lead's a year old. Do you have a time where you're going to your agents, okay, this month we're going to look at every single lead that's a year old, and I want you guys to call all of them because they haven't been reached out to in a while? Do you have something like that in place, and how's that working?
We don't, but we're initiating it. So
Me
what
too,
we're going to do is, because again, I'm new to having a team, and so most of the leads, that are hanging out and follow up us, that, maximum would be a year old. But we're going to go back through a couple different things. I have a couple services that are going to go back through and start cultivating that for us. And so based on their interaction, then we're going to be calling those. But we started call nights and it just wasn't working out well. So we're going to go back to a monthly call night where we kind of have a theme. And I'm going to bring dinner in. And again, I can't require it. There's a gray area if you can require things because you're giving leads. For me, and again, I think it just comes down to having the right people. I just ask everyone, hey, can you guys be at the call night? So it comes down to having the right people who are tenacious and motivated and want to produce and have the team spirit. And so, like I said, I am probably just very hypersensitive of the 1099 W-2 issue. I just don't know what the IRS coming back at me. But we're going to have a theme of the call night. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to call through all of the seller leads that have come in that are, this to this old. Pull up the lead, just cross-reference the address super fast in the MLS to see if it's sold in that time. And don't tell me if it has, and just tag it with something else on Facebook. And then, because I don't want to know about these leads that went by the wayside. but then, so we're just gonna have a theme. Okay, today we're gonna call all the buyers for this area that we haven't heard from, in this time frame. And then just, reinvigorate those leads.
I don't blame you for not wanting to know when somebody's relisted with somebody else or listed with somebody else and that sort of thing. The reality is, and people forget this, team leaders are people too, right? Yeah. Mike is the exception to that. I'm just
I swear to God, when we used to do the exact same thing. We'd go through our database once a year, and by the time that night was over, I was literally crying. Yeah. But you know what? It was my fault. We did not follow up with these people properly. And these were friends that I considered friends. And I said, what do you mean they sold 6 months ago? I just saw them at an event the other night and they didn't even mention, well, yeah, no wonder they ran so far so fast. I'm like, geez, but that's totally our fault. We as team leaders need to understand that we are, well, first of all, yeah, we are people, but it's our fault. If we don't follow up, that's just what happens. But, I got a question, Amanda. You are an amazing listing agent as well. We talk a lot about this buyers team. What are you doing for listings right now? What are you doing to procure them? What are you doing outside of the box, if you will, to pick up some leads these days?
So Tristan, Michael was referencing to Tristan Ahumada. He and I were just on the phone last night. Because I'm one of the admins of Labco agents with him. And so he and I are constantly talking and what's working for you and what's working for you here. And because we're in the same state, it's nice. Like I just sent him a seller lead the other day. It wasn't even an MLS. He said he canceled, but he's like, I see that address. He's like, I'm reactivating my MLS subscription for that address. He's like, send it over. But what we're doing, and he and I are actually taking two different approaches, and we are A/B testing it against each other. So he is mailing out handwritten things to seller leads that he gets. So let me back up. Primarily through Facebook. So there's three. So my main seller lead generation points are, we have all these portal leads coming in, Realtor.com and Zillow. A lot of those buyers need to sell.
Right.
The way I have it set up with my team is I give them a referral percentage for converting the listing for me, and they get the buyer and I get the listing. So that's one avenue. The other avenue is Facebook, getting Facebook leads and like seller leads. So home valuation landing pages, things like that.
Right.
And then the third is just Sphere, now repeat business and Sphere and I run this differently than a lot of teams. I let my buyer's agents handle their own listings that come in because I just don't ever want to limit them if it's a Sphere one that's come in. I mean, that's the whole point. For me personally, the reason I have a team is originally it was like, hey, I need help. But now I have loved so much the empowering and building side of it that I really, really, really invest personally in helping my agents build their businesses. So if they're getting referrals for listings, heck yeah, I'm gonna help them get that marketed and sold. And that's the benefit of being on my team, is that I have a full-time marketing coordinator, I have a full-time transaction manager, and I have a full-time operations manager. And so they get to tap into those resources to handle things that they don't have time because they are busy producing. I literally want my agents with clients, period. So whether it's a buyer or seller that they're generating on their own, I want them with their agents. So anyway, portal leads that need to sell, Facebook, and Sphere. So what Tristan and I are A/B testing is when he gets in a lead from like a home valuation page, he's mailing them out something like with a handwritten card. I take it a step further, and this is my lead generation I do. I have come to peace with the fact that I suck at making phone calls, and I'm just not doing it. Let's just own it, right, Michael? I was gonna
say, hell, it only took us about 2 months of, oh yeah, I'll definitely make those calls. Absolutely, of course, I'll have them made by tomorrow. Michael, tomorrow I'm gonna and to figure out that, yeah, maybe that's not our strong suit.
Amanda's like me; she wants the phone to ring to her.
That's right.
That's the way I am too. I want people to come to me.
Yes. So what I do is when people request a value, and we've got it down to a system of exactly what's in our packet. We just do a very simple one-page CMA. It's an introduction letter about myself and how our inventory is low. And if they're ever interested in selling their home, We would love to because we have hundreds of buyers and we don't have houses to sell them. Let's see, CMA, I don't remember what all is in it. And it's a handwritten note from me. And my introduction letter has a picture of me with my kids, just introducing myself, who I am, and, you know, letting them know that there are people that are looking for homes and we don't have homes to sell them. And it's very simple. I put it in, I don't have any of them right here. I put it in a blue letter size envelope, like the big ones, but it's really pretty and blue. It's hand addressed to them. And then I deliver like 7 or 8 a day to them.
Wow. Okay, so that's a full lead, obviously. When they, if they put in only their address, do you still do that and you look them up and then still do that, or are you just getting full leads?
Because what are seller leads going to put in that's going to be accurate information?
Their address. Exactly. So many people say, well, if they're not going to give their phone number and email, I'm not going to call them. I'm like, no, you got their address. Maybe there's a chance that they do want to sell.
So this is what I do. I put that in a packet, and this is my script, but I can say it very naturally. They knock on the door, I knock on the door and I say, hi, my name is Amanda Todd with Keller Williams. You requested the value of your home. I was going to mail this to you, but I was in the area, so I just thought I'd deliver it myself and introduce myself to you. So I always like, wow, thank you. Oh my gosh. And then I don't even say like, can I commit? Nothing. I just drop it off and I just shake their hand and say, it was really nice to meet you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me. Because there was a study somewhere that people work with the first agent that they meet.
Mm-hmm. Realtor.com did that study, and it's like 80, I think it's 83%, or maybe it was 67. I can't remember, but it was at least 67, which is still a big percentage of the people out there are working with the first agent they come in contact with. So that's powerful.
So you're taking that ambiguity out of it. You're becoming a known entity. And so what we do to keep it, because people are like, oh, how can that be worth your time? It takes me like an hour because we geographically figure them out. And so I'll do like this neighborhood this day and this neighborhood this day. And, just try to keep it within a couple of days. And if there's outliers, we will mail those. But in all of these packets, I've written a handwritten note. There's a picture of me with my kids, introducing myself. I believe we have our sales statistics from the last year, so they can see like who is this, does this person actually sell real estate? It's got a link to my website. I mean, but it's very simple and very short. I think I could go grab one, but it's got like 3 things in it.
Okay. By the way, I've got a couple of quick questions from people did you have something else on this particular topic, Mike, or can I go to?
I did, but we can move on. That's fine.
Go ahead. Just ask your quick question.
So I'm like you, Amanda. My staff, my team, I like them to go out on listings. As a matter of fact, I sent most of them to Listing Agent Bootcamp because I believe that that's okay. How do you feel about, or what does the team have access to when they get a lead from their sphere or their leads? Do they come into the office, pick up a pre-listing package that's different than yours, or do they duplicate exactly what you're doing for your pre-listing package with the picture of them and their kid? How do you?
Because that's the benefit of being on my team, is that my operations manager does the CMAs. I review them before my listing appointment just to make sure I actually know what I'm talking about when I'm sitting in their house and know about their neighborhood. But she will do them for all the other agents, just like that. And again, that's the benefit of being on my team, bringing in your own businesses. It's taking a lot of that busy work out that's necessary. So she'll print a listing agreement for them. She will print, a CMA for them. And so it makes it so they can just tap into the resources of our team and still be more efficient and effective in their production. Oh, yep.
There we go. All right. So, Mike, anything else on that?
No, I just wanted to know what the staff had access to. If it was just like a, Amanda team package that they go pick up and they go deliver that.
We have a buyer presentation packet, and it's specifically branded to each of my agents. Like, here's Gilbert's stack of them. Here's Michelle's stack of them. I mean, we have them. It's got their picture. It's got everything. And one of the things that we're doing, I'm super excited about it. For those of you who don't know, Northern California has been drowning for the last few months we finally have nice weather, so we're going to reschedule.
I'm from Seattle. Cry me a freaking river.
No, dude, I flew out of Sacramento yesterday, and I looked down, and everything was flooded. Roads were flooded everywhere. I mean, I got on the plane, it was 85 degrees, and everything was still underwater. That place is crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
So now the weather's nice, we can reschedule it, but we're going to do, and I was bugging Jesse about this yesterday. We're going to do something. We're going to do a video that goes out in our auto text and auto email from our CRM when a lead comes in. That's me saying, hi, I'm Amanda Todd with the Amanda Todd Group. Thank you for inquiring about a property. Either myself or one of my amazing business partners will be reaching out to you. And then literally it's going to go, hi, I'm Gilbert. Hi, I'm Haley. And each person, and it's going to be like 30 seconds long. But so then it's that, again, it takes that kind of robotness out of it. And then that also helps cut down on when people think they're getting me, that it's me offering one of my amazing business partners. And that's one thing is I definitely, especially to clients, refer to my agents as my business partners because they are my business partners. And then that's, again, uplifting to the agents. And I'm like, oh, you're just a buyer's agent, because they're not. There's so much more than that. And then to the clients, so they're not like, oh, I'm just getting a buyer's agent. I know some people say like buyer specialist and things like that. But when I refer to them as my business partner, I feel like that's so much more empowering both to the client and to the agent.
Absolutely. That's really cool that you do that, Amanda. Congratulations. I have always called them either my colleagues, partners, or specialists in their field, and that's super important.
It really
all
is.
right, Michael, I'm sorry that I took over there for a little bit, but
That's
listings are the name of our game as real estate agents. We've been talking so much about buyers teams. I had to shake that a little bit because I don't want agents to forget that listings are the name of the game.
Yeah.
And you're right, they are. The phrase, you got a list to last. All right, so here's what I got to do. I got to give a shout out to some folks that are asking questions. I'm monitoring. You guys can see my head going around here. I know Brian's doing the same thing. We're monitoring different feeds of this live broadcast. And so we're trying to make sure we get to all of your questions. And some of them we're saying who's asking them. Sometimes we're not. But we're doing the very best we can to get to all of your questions. And I've got a couple right now. First and foremost, Sarah Santana was asking, and I think this is a very good point. Amanda, are you saying that when you have an unproductive employee, that's oftentimes a reflection on whether or not they feel appreciated more so than whether or not they're capable?
Absolutely. For sure. Because again, people are going to be the most productive and efficient when they enjoy where they're at. Period.
That's exactly right. Well, and that comes back to your point. When we talk about them and when we elevate them, right, instead of making it, putting our thumb on them, acting like, oh, well, they're just a buyer's agent, right? And when we elevate them, we say, look, this is my business partner. We work together. And when you provide those marketing materials that brand them along with the team, instead of just branding the team, what you're saying is, look, we're in this together. We all have value, every single one of us, and I appreciate everything you do. And in addition to that, I'm assuming and hoping that I know you are because I know you, but you're taking the time on a regular basis to reach out to them in a very deliberate way and make sure that they know that they are loved and appreciated and that they have value and that they bring a tremendous value to the team. True or false?
Oh yeah, definitely. So here's an example, and this isn't to be me our office. So I believe I know our office is one of the top producing Keller Williams offices in all of KW. I know sometimes it's been the number one producing office in all of KW. And we, I believe, are the number 2 team in the office, either number 2 or number 3 producing team. And I owe that 100% to my amazing agents that work with me. And so anyway, so the office staff emailed me and said, on Wednesday, we're at the team meeting, we're having, and let me step back. This is going to be the first team meeting I've ever been to at Keller Williams.
That was honest.
Meetings, that's it. But we really want you to be at the team meeting this week because we're giving you an award. And please RSVP. And I said, there are 14 people that need to RSVP, not just me. And so I need to make sure that you are recognizing my entire team. And again, it's going back to that. So I just hired a new agent and she's amazing. She just jumped right in. She worked as an individual agent for many, many years, and she joined a team about 6 months ago. And Michael, you know who the team leader was. In fact, it was very and she came to me basically because she was really frustrated with the pyramid looking like this. And she came to me and and didn't even say anything about that. And I just said, let me tell you a little bit about our team. This is how we do it. And she goes, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I am looking for. And so, so she and I, have chatted a lot, and she interviewed with a couple other teams. She goes, I don't even know why, because she said, I know I want to be with you. But that is such a common problem with teams. Like, I think it was Brian that was saying, people think they're just going to give leads and cash checks. I don't want to get into splits, but I do feel like, and splits are a totally different conversation, but if you are looking at it as bring me business, bring me business, bring me business, and I'm going to take a ginormous chunk of it, I don't think that you are going to foster a tremendous spirit of well-being. It's going to just seem like the top is taking. And I never want that to be our team, ever.
You're absolutely correct on that, Amanda. And when you have that, this becomes the way that the best teams recruit. Too often,
I don't recruit. I've never once recruited. They recruit for me.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because of the way you treat your team, and because they're bought in, and because it's really, truly more like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table than some kind of a dictatorship, all of a sudden everybody takes ownership because, hey, we're in this together and we love it. And so now guess what? You've got raving fans on your team going out there and spreading the word, and they attract people to the team. What's interesting is people say, oh, the customer is the most important person in the equation. No, the customer is not. Your team has to love your team. If your team doesn't love your team, then how in the world can we expect our customers to love our team? They won't. So great stuff. All right. And so I've got one other question from online, actually two, but I'm going to start with one, and then we'll get back to more questions from Brian and from Mike. How do we know? So logistically speaking, one of our questions from the Club Wealth Facebook page was, how do you know when an agent writes an offer on or puts a transaction together in whether it's a sale or a listing? Because on their team, it's going to the office, and a lot of times the team leader's not even finding out until days before closing.
So, that's going to be state specific. And Mike, I don't know how you do this with your team, but how we do it, my name is on every contract. So we have CAR forms, California Association of Realtor forms. So my name is on every contract. And then we have a form that goes with it that's called an additional agent acknowledgement. And so then it has my name and the other agent's name on it. And what that does is, one, filters everything through our team, but two, that makes it so I'm on the transaction, but legally the other agent is the one doing everything. They're doing the agent visual inspection. They're the ones that are negotiating pieces of the deal, things like that. So, there's still title companies call me all the time. What's going on with this? And I'll say, look at the additional agent acknowledgement. Whose deal is that? And we have our daily huddle every day. And we review all of our files each morning together. So I'm, pretty aware, like I hear street names and I'll go, that's Haley's file. Here's her number. Can you give her a call?
Mm-hmm. And you just hit the nail on the head. When you're doing your daily huddle, I really believe, regardless of what state you're in, regardless of how logistically your office works or the multiple in your area works, when you're truly having your daily huddle every single morning and you're having transactional conversations and you're expecting people to tell you when they wrote up a transaction on that huddle, guess what? Now Now you're having those conversations now that things don't fall through the cracks as easily. It's not going to solve every problem, but it's certainly going to help out.
And another part too, and again, this is how I built my team. So it just depends on everybody's, administrative structure. But Caroline is my transaction manager. So nobody wants to be touching their files. So Caroline keeps track of all of our files. So she documents everything through us. So it's having, I would say, for anyone, regardless of the size of your team, it would be a matter of having a central system that every contract went into so that the transaction can be managed effectively.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you don't know what deals are happening,
that's right.
That sounds like an administrative mess.
That is.
Hey, Amanda, let me ask you this.
Brian, go ahead.
So for me, success is when I hear that we had a closing today and I didn't know it was happening. Do you feel the same way?
Boom. I have said many times.
That's the greatest.
That's so cool that I just picked up a check from a property I've never seen and a client I've never met.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. One thing we got to tell the viewers is, for when you get up to a certain amount of listings and a certain amount of escrows, we use Google G Suite here, and it's super simple to make alias and group names. So we just have, we changed the email and the MLS to offers@santaclaritarealestate.com. So I actually am on that email, so is Tammy, and so is our transaction coordinator. So if I happen to miss it, at least somebody else gets the offer. I'd rather have it uploaded into a portal, but then I'd have to get involved in another portal. So I don't want that. I just want some of the beginning communication that goes to offers at, and then I know when my team's writing an offer and I can jump in, because if it's a friend of mine, somebody else in the business, or somebody I can email my agents privately and say, hey, just so you know, this person likes this business way or doesn't like this, or they're a pain in the ass or something, and I can coach them along without having to get too involved. So
well, and I want to add some into that. So again, same for me, because I have made it a point to get to know a lot of agents in my area. My team, anytime they write an offer, copies me on it. They also copy our lender on it, so our lender can jump on and vouch for the validity of the file. But what that allows me to do is, and a lot of times I'm just like, yeah. But if I see who it's to, sorry, just a second, somebody's calling me and it's taking over my computer. If I see that it's an agent that I know, then I will jump in and be like, hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'd love to do another deal with you. So then, and I don't want to sound egotistical, but there's a lot of people who are like, oh, hey, Amanda's going to be touching this deal. I feel comfortable with it. And so that just helps boost up my agent's ability in getting deals accepted.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's not egotistical. We've worked very hard to create and maintain those relationships. We've done things that other agents can't or won't to have those relationships. So when we need a favor or we can make a difference, I mean, I tell buyers that straight out all the time. I say, I'll tell you why you won't be in a bidding war. I'll tell you why our offers will get accepted. It's because I've worked really hard to create these relationships with these agents. And, you know, in this particular market, these agents are ridiculously stupid when they're jerks to other agents, because in 6 months when this market turns, we're going to be like, we need each other, you know. So even in the best of best markets, I'll spend extra time with agents and extra time talking to them to get those deals accepted, and you know, we make it work that way. But geez, it's so important.
One of the biggest mistakes people can make is to view other agents as their competition or their adversaries, instead of making it a point to be friends with all the agents. I mean, some of my very best friends are agents. And like one of them, I mean, again, this is the benefit of it, is that one of them, she produces a ton, and we are constantly back and forth. Hey, do you have anything coming up like this? Hey, can you send this out to your team? Hey, can you send this out to your team? And I mean, we are back and forth. And I know if anybody on my team writes an offer, because she and I use the same lender. So I know if anybody writes an offer from my team on one of her listings or vice versa, we're in. You know,
I got to tell you, Amanda, I made that mistake in 2008. And I got to tell you, it started with me, and it ran rampant throughout our culture in our team, where we treated agents as an annoyance. I mean, I literally had to staff 1.5 full-time positions to do nothing but answer questions like, hey, is that house still for sale? And hey, how do I show it? And oh, how do I write an offer on it? How do I submit an offer on it? You know, stuff that they could find out from the multiple. I had 1.5 full-time positions devoted to nothing but answering those types of questions. And it got frustrating. And so I treated people, I treated the other agents in our MLS like an annoyance. It's like, dude, can't you just read the freaking multiple? And I got to tell you, that was a huge, massive, incredibly just gigantic mistake on my part. And I got to tell you guys, it's hard to recover from that. You have to treat people in your marketplace just like you treat your clients. You've got to take care of them, because guess what? The agents in your marketplace are going to do a lot of transactions with you, and they can help make you or they can help break you. And it's up to you, and it's how you treat them that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So good stuff. Brian, you look like you may be having another question there. I want to make sure we've got like literally 2 minutes left. Actually, let me double check. We have 1 minute left. So we're wrapping up. Here's what we're going to do.
Takeaways.
In our last 30 seconds, we've got time for our takeaways from each one of you. So we're going to start with Brian Curtis. Tell us what your biggest takeaway from today is.
My biggest takeaway. So, I probably knew this already, but it's always good to hear it reinforced, is Amanda's a leader. And I think that if nothing else, that's what it's about in 2017. It's about being a leader. I wrote in our Facebook little note there that you take 100% responsibility. And what I mean by that, when things go wrong, you take responsibility and you're helping people succeed. And I love that. And, the whole idea of, like we talked about, when a deal closes, you don't even know about it. That's because you've done a great job leading those people so they can take care of it themselves. Ultimately, we don't have time to put out fires every single day. So we get people, we train them, and we lead them so that they can become the leaders on our team so we can go do other things. So thanks for being on today, Amanda.
Good stuff. Love it. Mike Bjorkman.
Again, I've always known this, but every time I get to feel the hustle that girl puts off is so just so refreshing, because honestly, it's one of those stories that you just love to be proud of and embrace. The girl next door makes it super big, but not only that, she's just still so sweet and, willing to share. And like you said, I don't want to sound egotistical, but you're doing a great job and I'm super proud of you. And, I'm glad to have you part of Club Wealth. And, that hustle is just, be proud of it, because that's something that very few people have. So that was my biggest take. I mean, everything was great, but I'm just so excited by that. But thank you.
I love it. All right, good stuff. And so I'm going to wrap up here with my. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amanda. What's that?
I said I wish I could give Mike a big hug right now.
Virtual hug. Virtual hug.
Virtual hug.
That's awesome.
My daughter has a gift that she'll be virtual hug, Mom.
Nice. All right. Well, here's the thing. We are at time, so I've got to wrap us up here with a couple of last thoughts here. Well, number one, Luann Prima is right. Helping other people succeed. Jeff Russell, great thing, is saying you're awesome, Amanda. Sarah Santa Ana is saying she agrees, and that being friends with the agents and brokers is very important. And Anna, I completely agree with you. Mike needs to consider himself lucky for having you on his team. All right. So that being said, my biggest takeaway from today is unquestionably the importance of taking care of our team members and treating them like partners and helping them to understand the value that they bring in everything that we do and say. And one of the things that may seem small to some of you, but that really hit me hard, was when Amanda was talking about how she demanded recognition for everyone on her team and not just for her. Let me tell you, it's very, very easy for team leaders to just bask in the limelight and take all the glory and all that. And let me tell you something, the best ones, the truly great ones, always make sure that their teams and the members of their teams, the individual members of their teams, are the ones that are getting all the glory. So Amanda, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us on Club Wealth TV today. Thank you so much for being a Club Wealth coaching client. I just love the opportunity that I get to work with you on a regular basis. You are awesome. You are killing it. We love you, love you, love you. And for those of you that have referrals to send in Sacramento/Roseville, California, reach out to Amanda and shoot them her way. She'll take great care of them. She and her team will take great care of them. And in closing, I just want to say, please remember, type in your comments into our comments box here for Amanda as we go forward. This is recorded. This will be shown on our website as well as on the Club Wealth Facebook page and the Club Wealth Facebook group. For those of you that are not already a member of the Club Wealth Facebook group, search for it on Facebook. It's Club Wealth Real Estate Agent Mastermind. Again, my name is Michael Hellickson. I'm one of the coaches here at Club Wealth. On behalf of Brian Curtis, Mike Bjorkman, Amanda Todd, and myself, I'm going to say that one last time, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. And remember, whether you realize it or not, inside you is a world-class beast dying to get out. Let your light shine. Unleash that beast on the world and go be world-class.
Thanks, guys.